Welcome to the John A. McCabe Show on Monday. What is today? August 29th, 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And, this is the inaugural show. It's the kickoff show of the John A. McCabe Show. So what I'd like you to do is to like, share, and comment on this. Leave some comments on the video if you can. And like it and share it to all your friends. Just let them know that you're here with us, joining us. Maybe they'll come in and join as well. Now, today's guest we were supposed to have is Mike Wolf. Now, Mike has been traveling in Europe, and he's actually in Prague right now. And Mike and I just could not get a solid internet connection for today's episode. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to wait till Mike gets back into the country before we can actually bring him in live, because it's just not a stable internet connection. And so, but I have a great show. I have somebody else lined up. I have a couple great things lined up for you. I have an interview that I previously did with one of my coaches and mentors on marketing, and it's specifically related to real estate investing. So I want you to stick around for that. And also, now, since Mike's not here to do an education, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the 3 types of homeowners that are willing to just let you take over their home. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why they're willing to let you take over their home, how to attract them. So if you haven't done so already, like, share, leave some comments on the feed. So today is Real Estate Investing Day on the John A. McCabe Show, as we've promoted for the last couple of weeks. So, like I said, the guest, Mike Wolf, is not here, and that left me scrambling this morning. So, just 1 hour before the show, I just came up with a presentation that I'm actually just going to roll out for you, as well as I came up with an interview that I had previously done with my coach, Ed Rush. So, we're looking forward to getting into that as well. I'll start on the presentation. We're going to get into the 3 types of homeowners who are willing to let you lease option their home. And I'll go through and I'll talk about each one of them in detail. And then after that, like I said, I've got my good fortune to have one of my coaches, Ed Rush, that I did a previous interview with. He's going to be joining us, and we're going to talk about real estate investing. We're going to talk about marketing and attracting those particular homeowners. So I've got a great show lined up for you. And Margaret, this show is sponsored by iOffer Solutions Real Estate Services. Today is brought to you by Infinite Real Estate ROI and the Ultimate Real Estate Investing Marketing and Money Making System. And today I'm going to share with you the 3 types of homeowners who are open to leasing their home and then selling them. Now, if you haven't done so already, what I'd like you to do is show us some love, like this, share it on your Facebook, leave some comments and some questions as I'm going to go through this presentation. And let's get rolling. So the 3 types of homeowners who are looking to lease their home and then sell it.
So the very first type is a homeowner whose house is not selling. It's been on the market for some time.
There's always going to be those houses out there that are just not selling, and especially if it's in a stagnant market or a buyer's market, which means there's a lot of supply of houses on the market, but a lot fewer buyers. So houses will actually sit on the market for a length of time and actually not sell whatsoever. So these people are actually open to renting their house out and then selling it in the future.
Whereas maybe somebody who just can't afford to keep their house any longer. And that is happening a lot in Alberta, in the western provinces, and even many places across the country because of the economic situation that the country has found itself in right at the moment. So there's a lot of people that can no longer afford their houses.
And this strategy works right around the country, right around the continent, and actually in the world as well, because I'm currently working with and coaching a real estate investor who lives in the Philippines, who read my book, The Rent-Own Revolution, and he's been doing real estate investing, buying foreclosures over there, and he's actually starting to look at implementing this type of strategy so that he actually doesn't have to purchase the home outright for people who are going into financial problems. So this strategy works anywhere around the world. The only difference is it's not the attracting the homeowners that's the difference. The only difference is the paperwork or the contracts. So again, house not selling, people just can't afford it any longer.
Maybe they bought it or they built another home. They bought another home or they built another home, and they're just not selling their first home. So instead of carrying these two properties, they need somebody to actually take over the one. So they're interested in either renting it out or selling it, or maybe even doing both.
When it's time to build their home, when they set up the financing, when they're just breaking ground, and things can change dramatically in the course of 12 months, where you can have a buyer's market, not many people buying homes. Now they're stuck with two properties, and they're looking at, okay, well, my house isn't selling. What am I going to do with my home? Am I going to rent it out? Am I going to turn it, just keep trying to sell it, try to carry both mortgages? And a lot of times people just end up renting their home out because they just can't carry the mortgages, and they don't think that there's any other option out there. So what I've done is created a strategy where when it's presented to the homeowner that our company will actually lease their home for 2 to 3 years and then buy it, it actually fits ideally into that specific niche, or the homeowner is looking for that particular strategy or that particular option that will actually solve all of their problems, because they typically don't want to be a landlord.
Or maybe it's somebody who's faced with a divorce, or maybe there was a death in the family and they just need to get rid of their property. So the house isn't selling. So these people had their house up for sale. It wasn't selling, so they needed something to happen. So they're looking at alternative solutions. So they're looking at either just turning it into a straight rental, or they come across some marketing information that says, hey, rent your house for 2 to 3 years and then we'll buy it. So that is much more attractive to them because it gets the wheels turning. It's like, hey, if I've got someone that's willing to rent it for 2 to 3 years and then buy it, I can probably make more money because there's not going to be any vacancies, there's not going to be any repairs, I can probably make more money on the sale, I won't have to pay a realtor. The second type is the people who can't afford to sell today, and there's a lot of these people out there.
Typically the CMHC fees are 3.5% to upwards of 4%, so that home is almost 100% financed. Now if you own that home for less than 7 years, you basically have barely paid down the mortgage enough to have enough equity to cover your down payment, especially if the marketplace is not cooperating, meaning that the home price has not increased because there has been no appreciation, which is really the devaluation of your dollar, really. So if there's been no appreciation over the last 5 to 7 years, and you've almost 100% mortgage financed, then typically in a selling scenario, a lot of people are not going to be able to afford, because you're going to put it on the marketplace, they're not going to be able to afford to sell it, because they'll put it on the marketplace, people will negotiate on the price. Then if you're selling it with a realtor and they take typically their 7% of the first 100,000 and 3% of the rest, then in a lot of cases on your average $350,000 home, you're looking at anywhere around close to $15,000, $350,000 to $400,000 home, looking at $15,000 to pay the realtor. There's been any negotiation in the price from the selling point. In a lot of cases, people are not even walking away with the down payment that they put in the property, which means that they just can't afford to sell the property. They're going to sell it and walk away with less money than they actually put into the property at the very beginning.
So these are people who probably bought at the peak of the market, probably with CMHC fees. They're almost 100% financed. The mortgage pay down is minimal because remember, the bank gets their interest. They front load the interest, which means the majority of what you pay in the first 10 years is interest, and then there's a small amount of principal. So in the first 5 to 10 years, there's not a whole lot of mortgage pay down. And what we find is a lot of people who have bought in less than 10 years, who've held their house for less than 10 years, are the people coming to us because the mortgage pay down hasn't been there. The market hasn't, the home hasn't appreciated like they wanted it to. It was a slower housing market, which has resulted in small appreciation. They're locked into their mortgage, so they have a huge payout penalties. We met some homeowners just last Saturday, Saturday? Whatever day it was. Can't remember, they all blend together. But anyway, it was $20,000 for him to get out of his mortgage. And he was actually seriously considering doing that. to pay the $20,000 penalty. So I don't know about you, but I don't feel like giving the bank an extra $20,000 just to get out of my mortgage. Also, when you go to sell a house, there's a lot of price negotiations. You know, most people don't buy a house for asking price, so there's some negotiations there. Then you have to pay a realtor, and if you don't have any equity to begin with, then there's not a whole lot of money left for you, and you're going to walk away without even getting your down payment back.
So what that means typically, and you really have to watch what type of mortgage you get into, because a lot of people will just go for the lowest rate, and the lowest rate is not always the best, because there could be terms in your mortgage which, if you actually want to get out before your term is up, that there's huge payout penalties, and you want to have some flexibility. So right now, over the, in the past few years, I've seen payout penalties upwards of $30,000, $40,000 just to break a mortgage. A lot of times people are calling me in and they've only been into their home, into the mortgage for 1, maybe 2 years, and they still have 3 or 4 years left of their mortgage. And for them to actually get out of it, the home hasn't appreciated at all in the time that they've owned it. They are pretty much 100% financed, with the paying the realtor and the fees to the bank for the prepayment penalty. They actually have to come out of pocket probably anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000. So they just can't afford to sell their home today. So this solution of someone coming in and actually renting their home for 2 to 3 years and then buying it from them actually works out extremely well. So they have to move on. They're moving on from their home anyway. Either they lost their job, or they're moved into a new place, or they have to downsize. Whatever the reason, they're looking at selling their home today, and they just can't afford to sell it. So most people only think that their only other option is if they rent it out. So what we're doing is we're educating people that there is a third option, and this is a great option where you can actually be a landlord without actually the hassles of a landlord. You can have somebody come in and a company come in and rent your home for 2 to 3 years with the option to buy it in the future. So it gives, one, time for your mortgage to get paid down an extra 2 to 3 years, or 3 to 4, depending on the situation. 2, you're not going to pay the realtor fees because there's no realtor involved in the sale of the property. And 3, you're going to eliminate those mortgage payout penalties. And that alone, those 3 things alone can save you upwards of, $20,000, $40,000, $60,000 in a lot of cases.
And the third type is more like a homeowner who just wants to make more money on their house, or they're an investor.
We actually educate or consult with investors on a regular basis, because this particular strategy is very specific, and there's a lot of moving parts that go into it. And if there's a lot of investors out there trying to do this strategy and actually do it wrong, and where the person will actually never qualify. So it's a very specialized industry now. It's become a very specialized industry, and we're one of the only companies across Canada that actually keeps up with all the regulations, not just from the legal standpoint, but from the mortgage industry standpoint, as well as the mortgage insurer, CMHC and Genworth, those sort of things. And we are constantly changing. Our contracts are constantly adapting to whatever the new changes come in. So a lot of times we'll actually just be hired as consultants, or we'll sell our contract service for people that actually are investors and they want to turn their home into a rent home, but they want to make sure it's done properly. So they will actually hire us to come in and either consult with them or set it up for them at the very beginning, and then they deal with it for the remainder of the term. So these are the people that actually want to maximize the return on investment. They want to make that extra $20,000, $40,000, $60,000 themselves, as opposed to splitting it with us by us actually being involved for the duration of the term. So these are homeowners who want to get the most out of the sale of their home, or they're real estate investors.
So these are smart homeowners or investors. They're not cheapskates. They understand rentals, that rentals come with expenses. They realize that there's risks to being a landlord, and they want to reduce their expenses and minimize their risks.
There's a lot of homeowners that are just they don't understand the reality of being a landlord or the reality of investing. So maybe just share with us some of your comments on your experience being a landlord. I have talked to landlords where they've had the same tenant for 7-10 years. Those are a real minority. Typically, a tenant usually stays for about 2 years. In a lot of cases, if you want the cream of the crop, if you want the very top tenant, type of tenant available, you want to attract the very best, then what you're going to do is once the tenant leaves, you're going to go in there, you're going to do all the repairs and maintenance. You're actually going to repaint the entire place, get it in pristine condition, do any, fix any minor nicks, get the carpets professionally cleaned yourself, definitely getting the furnaces cleaned, doing a lot of these things. And typically you're looking at, a month, at least a month to do all of that. And once it's done, you're going to put it up for rent. And it's typically going to take you within 30 days, you should have a very good qualified tenant to go into the property. Now, tenants are not just waiting at the curb to get into your home. Typically, they need to give a month's notice. So that's the third month. So typically every 2 years, a very good landlord with, some top quality properties will account for a 3-month vacancy every 2 years, or 1.5 months per year. Now, it doesn't mean that your home is going to be vacant that much, but if you're running your real estate business as a true business, you're going to account for that type of vacancy, because you never know. It may be for 5 or 6 years, but then when the person leaves, it may be a time frame when the vacancy rates are in double digits and you're sitting with it vacant for 6, 8, 12 months before you can get another quality tenant in there, and you're taking a lower price. So it's good to budget for that extra vacancy. A month and a half per year is typically what we're budgeting for. Those are the 3 types of homeowners who would be open to letting you lease option their home, or lease their home for 2 to 3 years and then have the option to buy it at the end of the term.